Billionaire crashed a wedding just for fun, but found his ex-wife with kids that shared his face. From the moment Leonard Pierce stepped out of his sleek black limousine and onto the marble steps of the lavish country club, he had only one goal: crash a wedding for the sheer thrill of it. As a billionaire CEO with a taste for mischief, Leonard often reveled in spontaneous escapades that offered a break from boardroom monotony. He expected lively music, champagne toasts, and scandalized whispers following his uninvited presence. What he did not expect was to see the woman who once shattered his heart, Camilla, and children who looked eerily like him. In that instant, Leonard's night of reckless fun became something else entirely. Leonard Pierce was the kind of man who had been chasing success for as long as he could remember. Born in the modest suburbs of Wilmington, Delaware, he had clawed his way up from near poverty, working his first job at 13 just to help his mother pay rent. Through grit, intellect, and an almost ruthless ambition, Leonard transformed himself into a powerful business magnate. He eventually founded Pierce Industries, a multinational conglomerate dealing with everything from high-tech manufacturing to real estate. With offices spanning continents, Leonard relished the prestige of commanding an empire. Yet behind every grand success lay pockets of unhealed wounds. One of those wounds was Camilla, a woman who had once been his entire world. Their marriage, short-lived but fiery, had ended under tumultuous circumstances no one outside their closest circle fully knew. Leonard's heart had shattered, and in response he had buried himself deeper into his empire. Working 14-hour days kept his mind occupied until that fateful night when everything he thought he'd left behind came rushing back. That evening, Leonard was scheduled to attend a high-profile charity gala, one of those events where socialites rubbed elbows with politicians. His phone chimed around midday with a message from a longtime friend and occasional rival, Grant Blackburn. The text read, "Heard about a wild wedding at Glenwater Country Club tonight. VIP guest list, bigger names than you'd expect. Dare you to crash it? No invitation needed. Show them who's boss?" Leonard smirked. Grant was a trust fund heir turned venture capitalist who thrived on stirring mischief. While Leonard found such stunts juvenile, a part of him felt tempted. He had no pressing family obligations. He had no one at home waiting for him with dinner, only an empty, custom-furnished penthouse. Spontaneity had never been Leonard's strong suit. But after reading that text, he recalled how his life had become too predictable. Board meetings, investor calls, product launches, every day mirrored the last. Maybe crashing a random wedding was the adrenaline jolt he needed. 10 minutes later, he had canceled his gala appearance and instructed his driver, Benito, to take him to Glenwater Country Club, an opulent venue known to host celebrity-style receptions. Little did he know this twist would unearth secrets better left buried. The Glenwater Country Club was a magnificent sight, perched on a hillside surrounded by thick oak trees and lush gardens. On a typical Saturday night, it was reserved for gala dinners or high society fundraisers. Tonight, however, a grand wedding had transformed the grounds. Twinkling fairy lights dangled from trimmed hedges, and the fountain at the entrance glowed under soft purple and white spotlights. Benito parked the limousine near the valet station. Stepping out, Leonard straightened his tailored Brioni suit, glancing around to assess the scene. No one recognized him immediately. Yet, he took pleasure in the idea that he was incognito in a place where he had no official right to be. Across the driveway, guests dressed in tuxedos and elegant gowns milled about, greeting one another. Leonard casually followed a group of giddy relatives into the reception hall. A half-smile tugged at his lips as he anticipated the shocked expressions of those who might realize who he was. A quick conversation with an accommodating staff member and a sizable tip gave him unimpeded access. So far, it was shaping up to be a night of harmless, playful chaos. At least that was what he believed as he stepped into the ornate ballroom. The ballroom was a breathtaking expanse of marble floors and gilded arches. Scores of round tables filled the space, each adorned with white silk linens, towering floral arrangements, and gold-rimmed champagne flutes. Waiters zigzagged between chatting guests, offering hors d'oeuvres, mini quiches, smoked salmon canapes, and caviar-topped crackers. The aroma of expensive perfume, aftershave, and roses blanketed the air. Leonard blended into a corner, observing the crowd. He noticed men in crisp suits, women wearing designer gowns, bejeweled with diamonds that sparkled under the chandeliers. He was used to this level of extravagance, but it felt oddly refreshing to experience it as an outsider, with no obligations to speak or sign autographs. A sudden hush fell over a pocket of the room. The bride and groom had entered. He recognized them only vaguely. The groom was Michael Fried, a tech entrepreneur who'd secured a modest investment from Pierce Industries a few years ago. Leonard had met Michael once in passing, but harbored no grudge or strong sentiment toward the man. He smirked, wondering if Michael would be flustered at seeing his one-time investor uninvited. Then near the second table from the wedding cake, Leonard caught a glimpse of someone. Slender silhouette, dark hair pinned in a low chignon. He blinked, feeling the old pang in his chest. It couldn't be. He stepped closer, heart pounding. It was Camilla. Time seemed to slow, the music fading into background static, as if some invisible hand had muffled the entire room. She wore a navy blue satin dress that hugged her figure with an elegance both timeless and heartbreakingly familiar. She turned her face slightly, chatting with another guest, and Leonard saw that same soft profile he had known so intimately years ago. Their divorce had not been amicable. 7 years had passed since they last spoke in person. Though he had caught snippets of her life through mutual acquaintances, she had moved to Chicago, then Los Angeles. He had never imagined he would randomly see her here. She stood next to a man, possibly her date. The pair radiated polite camaraderie, but Leonard's attention zeroed in on Camilla's eyes. They held none of the brightness he remembered. Instead, there seemed a quiet caution there, as though she was watching for trouble. Then he noticed 2 children, the oldest perhaps 6 or 7, a younger one around 5. The girl had Camilla's eye shape, but the boy... Leonard swallowed hard. The boy's piercing gaze, the sharp angle of his chin. He could have been Leonard's mirror image from old childhood photos. A chill ran down his spine. It was impossible to deny the resemblance. The child's brown hair had the same slight curl Leonard had endured countless teasing sessions for in school. The shape of his nose, the arch of his eyebrows, everything echoed the reflection Leonard saw in his own mirror every morning. Shock coursed through Leonard. Could Camilla have? His mind reeled. They had parted so abruptly in the middle of a scandal that threatened to tarnish his early success. Camilla had always been guarded about children. When they were married, she said they were not ready, that they needed time. Then one explosive fight after another shredded their relationship. The next thing Leonard knew, she was gone, and the divorce papers landed on his desk. He never inquired further, burying himself in work, telling himself that it was over. He had never made a serious effort to reconcile or to learn what she was doing. Could she have been pregnant and hidden it? The idea felt like a punch to his gut. He thought about the years lost, the birthdays and the little moments, everything that he might have missed if the boy was truly his. An unsteady hand reached for a champagne flute from a passing waiter, as Leonard tried to steady the tremor surging through him. The night was about to get far more complicated. Gathering the courage that normally came to him effortlessly in the boardroom, Leonard decided he had to approach her. But how? He was an uninvited guest at a wedding. Every impulse screamed caution, yet a stronger drive demanded answers. He skirted the edges of the ballroom, weaving between tables, stepping carefully past dancing couples and well-wishers. Each step closer made his heartbeat thunder. Would she run away? Pretend not to know him? The swirl of possibilities was dizzying. Finally, he reached a table across from hers. Camilla was deep in conversation with her companion, a man Leonard didn't recognize. The children were seated close by, fidgeting, bored by adult chatter. Leonard could sense his own pulse behind his eardrums. Without a plan, he lingered near a decorative pillar, hoping to catch her eye. Suddenly, Camilla looked up. Her gaze collided with Leonard's, and in that fraction of a moment, raw shock etched across her face. She inhaled sharply as though the wind had been knocked out of her. She muttered something to her friend, then stood. The tension was electric. They were about to speak for the first time in 7 years, at a wedding neither truly belonged to. Camilla approached him with slow, measured steps. Leonard felt pinned by her hazel eyes, once warm and loving, now a swirl of conflicting emotions. They met near the edge of the dance floor, where the DJ played a soft jazz track. "Leonard?" Her voice was cautious, barely above a whisper. "Camilla, this is unexpected." She glanced around as if afraid their conversation might be overheard. "What are you doing here?" He held her gaze, pressing his lips into a firm line. "I could ask the same. I heard there was a wedding. Decided to drop by. Imagine my surprise." Her posture stiffened, and for a moment, Leonard saw her eyes flick to the children. She caught herself and shifted her focus back to him. "Did anyone see you come in?" It's complicated," she murmured. "I didn't expect to." She paused, swallowing hard. Her inability to finish her sentence only validated Leonard's suspicions. He tried to keep calm, but his heart raced. "We need to talk, privately." She nodded, scanning the room. "Not here. There's a lounge upstairs. 15 minutes. Without waiting for his response, Camilla turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Leonard grappling with 1,000 unspoken questions. The lounge upstairs was a posh, dimly lit space furnished with plush, velvet couches and a private bar. Large windows overlooked the rolling golf course behind Glenwater. Soft piano music leaked in from the corridor, muffling the distant clamor of the wedding reception. Leonard sat alone, swirling a glass of scotch he had commandeered from the bar. Memories of Camilla flooded his mind, the way she used to wait up for him during his late nights at the office, the inside jokes they shared, the emptiness he felt when she vanished. Now, after years of telling himself he'd moved on, he realized he might never have truly escaped the thought of her. Precisely 15 minutes later, Camilla walked in, closing the lounge door softly behind her. She carried an aura of tension, her hands clenched at her sides. Her navy blue dress, though stunning, reflected only a hint of the confidence she once possessed. In her expression, Leonard glimpsed both anger and sorrow, swirling in equal measure. "Leonard," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I never wanted you to find out this way. This was not the plan." He stood, setting his glass down. "Find out what exactly? That you have children, or that—" Camilla's shoulders sagged, bracing for what she knew would come next. "Are they mine?" Leonard's voice cracked, eyes searching hers. It felt surreal to say those words, yet the question had raged through his mind from the moment he noticed the boy. Camilla averted her gaze. Seconds of silence weighed heavily. "Yes," she whispered, looking down at her hands, clenched tightly together. "They're yours." The admission struck Leonard like a physical blow. He wasn't sure if he wanted to rage or weep. He took a step closer, but Camilla stood rooted in place, her eyes shining with tears she refused to let fall. "You kept my children from me for 7 years?" he said, barely restraining the anger that threatened to break his composure. "How could you do that?" Camilla swallowed. "It was complicated. Our marriage was falling apart. You were in the midst of a scandal that could have ruined everything. And I was scared. For you, for me, for the baby I just discovered I was carrying." Leonard exhaled, an unsteady breath. There was so much to unpack, so many regrets. "Scared enough to run away without a word?" She nodded, eyes brimming with regret. "I did what I thought was best at the time." A bitter laugh left Leonard's lips. "Best for whom? I had a right to know. You know how much I—" He caught himself, remembering the nights they had argued. Back then, he'd been consumed by an insider trading accusation that threatened to sink Pierce Industries in its infancy. The courts eventually found him innocent, but the relentless media scrutiny had driven a wedge between them. Camilla's chin trembled. "I convinced myself you were better off without the added pressure of parenthood during that storm. You were lost in your obsession with saving your company. I was alone. And then I left. It was cowardly, but I saw no other way." Leonard shook his head, trying to process the flood of information. "2 kids, Camilla? 2? What are their names? What do they know about me?" "Elias is 7, Marisol is 5, she replied, voice tinged with motherly pride and heartbreak at once. "They know, a little. I told them their father was someone successful who cared for them, but who couldn't be in their lives. I had planned to tell them the truth when they were older." Leonard's fists clenched. For the first time in years, he felt truly powerless. "But now they see my face, and they must be asking questions?" Camilla glanced anxiously at the door, fearful someone might overhear. They've noticed the resemblance, especially Elias. He's too observant for his own good. He asked me once why his eyes looked like pictures he found of you online. I brushed it off, but she trailed off, guilt clouding her expression. Leonard ran a hand through his hair, frustration simmering beneath his calm demeanor. This is insane. Do you realize what you've done? You denied me the chance to be a father. You denied our children the chance to know me. I know, she replied softly. Not a day goes by that I don't wonder if I made the biggest mistake of my life. He exhaled slowly, trying not to let anger rule him entirely. What about that man downstairs? The one you were talking to? That's Paul. He's just a friend, another guest at the wedding, she said, rubbing her temples. He was trying to distract the kids, keep them occupied. They don't know you're here, not yet. Leonard's mind reeled with the gravity of this revelation. Then the lounge door cracked open. Standing in the doorway, face pale as a sheet, was a woman with wide brown eyes. Leonard recognized her, Lucia Farnsworth, the bride's cousin and a local gossip. Lucia Farnsworth froze, mouth slightly agape, as though she had stepped into a minefield. Her stylish rose gold gown shimmered in the faint light, but there was no hint of celebration in her expression. She glanced between Leonard and Camilla, eyes flickering with curiosity and an eagerness to glean any scandalous detail she could. Am I interrupting? Lucia ventured, her tone deceptive in its innocence. Camilla quickly composed herself. Lucia, this is just a private conversation. Lucia's gaze lingered on Leonard. Recognition dawned. Wait, Leonard Pierce? The CEO of Pierce Industries? Her eyebrows shot up. I didn't realize you two were old friends, Leonard cut in, adopting his corporate charm. Catching up on personal matters, we'd appreciate some privacy. Lucia, however, was not the type easily deterred. I'm sorry, it's just the door was unlocked. Michael was looking for Camilla, something about a special surprise for the kids. Thought I'd find her here. She paused, a flicker of mischief dancing in her eyes as if she sensed a bigger story. Should I tell him you'll be right out? Camilla nodded curtly. Yes. Thank you. Lucia lingered another moment, scanning them both as though memorizing every detail. Then with a polite half-smile, she slipped out the door. The instant it closed, Camilla sank onto the couch, looking drained. Leonard paced the lounge, ignoring the swirl of adrenaline in his veins. That woman's a gossip columnist in her spare time. The Farnsworth name is practically code for tabloid drama. Camilla pressed a hand against her forehead. This is the last thing we need right now. He stopped pacing, hands on his hips, exhaling slowly. Camilla, we can't just pretend we didn't talk. We need to discuss how to move forward. If Lucia or anyone else starts digging, the news could explode. Leonard Pierce's secret children splashed all over tabloids. A flicker of pain crossed Camilla's face. I never wanted to hurt you or the kids. We have to be careful. They need stability, not a media circus. Then let's approach this rationally, Leonard said, slipping back into problem-solving mode. I want to meet Elias and Marisol, properly. We should do it somewhere private, away from this crowd. Camilla tensed. Tonight? Yes, tonight, before the situation spirals. Lucia already suspects something. If I leave without speaking to them, who knows what story she'll concoct. Camilla closed her eyes, nodding reluctantly. They're in the children's room downstairs, part of the venue's family suite. We'll have to be discreet. Leonard swallowed, preparing himself for the possibility his entire life would change. As they exited the lounge, they found themselves once more in the swirl of the wedding reception. Guests still filled the ballroom, dancing and chatting in lively clusters. Before Camilla and Leonard could slip out, a striking figure in a tailored navy tuxedo stepped in front of them, face set in a grim line. Leonard Pierce, the man stated bluntly. I'm John Carter, father of the bride's best friend. I'd like a word. Leonard blinked, momentarily off balance. He recalled John Carter, a wealthy real estate mogul whose firm had once been overshadowed by Pierce Industries in a competitive bid. There was no love lost between them. Carter, Leonard acknowledged, forcing a polite nod. I'm a bit occupied right now. Carter's eyes flicked suspiciously to Camilla, who stood rigid, looking like she'd rather vanish. Just making sure you're here on friendly terms. Michael Fried mentioned your presence to me, and we weren't expecting you on the guest list. Leonard offered a tight smile. No need for concern. I'm only here for a brief appearance. Carter looked unconvinced, but then the wedding planner's voice called out, beckoning him. With a last stern look, he nodded and stepped away, leaving Leonard's heart pounding with the knowledge that prying eyes were all around. With Carter off to handle wedding formalities, Camilla seized the moment to guide Leonard toward a side hallway. They navigated through a quieter corridor lined with paintings of scenic landscapes, eventually reaching a sign marked, Family Suite in Children's Play Area. Soft music and the faint sound of children's laughter drifted from under the door. Camilla paused before entering, turning to Leonard. They're my whole life now. I understand your anger, but please, be gentle with them. This is all new. They've never had a father figure. I don't know how they'll react. Leonard's heart pounded so violently he could almost taste his anxiety. I'd never do anything to hurt them, he managed, voice thick. She opened the door to reveal a spacious lounge filled with beanbag chairs, toys, and a TV airing a cheerful cartoon. A few other children were running around, supervised by a hired sitter. Elias and Marisol sat together in a corner, coloring in separate books. The sitter, noticing Camilla, nodded politely and left them be. Leonard's world shrank to just those two small figures, his children, whom he had never known. He felt rooted to the spot, struggling to breathe. Finally, Elias glanced up and locked eyes with Leonard, a flicker of recognition sparking behind the boy's curious gaze. Nervously, Leonard took a few steps forward. His normally steady hands trembled, so he tucked them into his pockets, attempting to appear casual. Elias stood up from the coloring mat, eyeing Leonard with a mixture of wonder and uncertainty. Mom? Who is he? Elias asked, his voice as soft and inquisitive as a child who sensed a big secret was about to be revealed. Camilla knelt beside her son, gently resting a hand on his shoulder. This is Mr. Leonard Pierce. He's an old friend of mine. Leonard resisted the urge to wince at the phrase old friend. He swallowed back a wave of anger and sorrow. Hi, Elias, he said quietly, crouching to the boy's eye level. I've heard a lot about you. Elias studied Leonard, and for a brief moment, confusion and curiosity lit his face. Then Marisol peeked up from her coloring book. She had Camilla's full lips and shining brown eyes, but Leonard saw hints of himself in the arch of her brow. Marisol shyly placed her crayons aside, approaching with small, cautious steps. Hello, she began, her voice wavering. Before Leonard could respond, the door opened again. They all turned to see a tall figure silhouetted in the doorway, Paul, the friend Camilla had mentioned. He looked at Leonard with guarded suspicion. Paul stepped inside, the overhead lights revealing his deep frown. Dressed in a formal suit with the tie slightly loosened, he appeared a man who had hurried to find Camilla the moment he realized she was missing. His eyes flickered from the children to Camilla, then finally resting on Leonard. Everything all right here? He asked, a protective edge in his tone. Camilla nodded, standing to face him. Yes, Paul. This is Leonard Pierce, an old friend. We were just, talking. Paul's gaze hardened slightly. Leonard Pierce, as in the CEO? I remember hearing about you. Elias and Marisol glanced between the adults, clearly picking up on the tension. The color drained from Camilla's face. She turned to them, her voice taking on a comforting lilt. Sweethearts, Paul and I need to chat with Mr. Pierce for just a moment. Could you keep coloring? I'll be right back. Marisol nodded obediently, but Elias lingered. Leonard gave him a reassuring smile before the children returned to their crayons. Camilla led Leonard and Paul into a small adjacent sitting area, shutting the glass door so the kids wouldn't overhear. Paul, she began, voice quivering slightly. Leonard he's my ex-husband, and the father of Elias and Marisol. Paul's jaw tensed. He glanced through the glass at the children, then back at Leonard. I see, he said curtly, voice low. I thought the father was out of the picture. Leonard bristled at that comment. I wasn't informed I had children, so yes, I was out of the picture. But I'm here now. Paul looked to Camilla for guidance, concern etched across his features. This changes everything. Have you told them yet? Camilla shook her head, eyes glistening with pent-up fear. They don't know the truth. Leonard and I barely spoke ourselves. We need to figure this out carefully. Silence stretched between them. Leonard recognized the protective stance in Paul's posture, likely that of a friend, or perhaps someone with deeper feelings for Camilla. In another world, Leonard might have confronted him with jealousy. Right now, however, there were far more pressing matters to address. "I don't want to cause a scene or ruin the wedding," Leonard said, fighting to keep his voice controlled. "But I do need to talk to them, privately, and soon. We can't keep this secret any longer. Not after tonight." Paul exhaled, glancing at Camilla. "It's your decision, but do it in a way that won't traumatize them." After a brief, tense discussion, they returned to the children's area. The hired sitter kindly escorted the other kids to another playroom, granting the family a moment of quiet. With Paul hovering protectively near the door, Leonard and Camilla approached Elias and Marisol, who looked up expectantly. Camilla took a breath, kneeling next to Elias again. "Sweetheart, there's something very important I need to tell you." She shot Leonard a nervous glance. Elias studied his mother's face, curiosity brightening his eyes. Marisol inched closer, sensing the gravity of the moment. "Mr. Leonard Pierce is—" Camilla paused, her voice catching in her throat. "He's actually your father." At first, the words didn't seem to register. The children stared blankly, like they had heard but couldn't quite process. Elias broke the silence. "Father? But I thought—" He trailed off, uncertainty flitting across his small face. Marisol tilted her head, her brow furrowed. "You said Daddy was somewhere else." Leonard forced a gentle smile, kneeling beside them. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here for you before. I only just found out you existed. But I'd like to get to know you, both of you." The children exchanged glances. Marisol bit her lip, tears forming in the corners of her eyes, while Elias seemed almost angry, fists clenching around a crayon. Elias set his crayon aside and stood, his little voice trembling. "If you're our dad, where have you been?" The question hung in the air, heartbreakingly direct. Leonard's throat constricted. He glanced at Camilla, who looked away guiltily. Choosing his words carefully, he said, "I didn't know you were my children. If I had, nothing could have kept me away. I promise you that." Elias took a moment, seemingly weighing Leonard's sincerity. Then, with the unabashed honesty only a child can muster, he asked, "Are you going to stay now?" Marisol stepped closer, her lower lip quivering. "Mommy said you were a good man, but you had to do important work." Her voice trembled at the end. Emotion welled up in Leonard's chest. He opened his arms but was mindful not to force anything. To his surprise, Marisol stepped into the half-embrace, burying her face against his suit jacket. Elias lingered, still uncertain, but the longing in his eyes was undeniable. "I want to be here for you," Leonard said, voice thick. "I'd like to spend time together, learn about your favorite things, games, books, sports, whatever you love." Elias finally relented, slowly stepping forward until he joined the small group embrace. Camilla watched, tears streaming down her face. For a few delicate minutes, all that existed was the four of them. Leonard, Camilla, and the two children, discovering the shape of a family they'd never fully known. Even Paul, standing nearby, seemed moved despite his earlier wariness. The quiet was broken by the sound of muffled applause from the ballroom, signaling the wedding's next big moment. Camilla wiped tears from her cheeks. "We can't stay in here forever. People will wonder where we are. And if Lucia Farnsworth starts asking questions—" Leonard nodded, though he desperately wanted more time. "I understand. Let me at least give you my contact information. My private line. We should figure out how to proceed once we're away from prying eyes." Camilla nodded, gathering her composure. She handed him her phone. He punched in his personal number, the one he answered himself rather than an assistant. Then he texted his name to her phone so she'd have it. "Tomorrow," Leonard said softly. "Let's meet somewhere safe, somewhere private. The kids can come if they feel comfortable." Camilla agreed, her voice still trembling. "All right, we'll talk." With that, the fragile reunion came to a close. Heart pounding, Leonard walked toward the door, unsure how to rejoin a celebration that suddenly felt meaningless. As Leonard returned to the ballroom, he immediately sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Guests whispered in tight clusters. The bride, Anna Fried, was up on stage preparing for a toast with her new husband, Michael. Yet eyes kept darting to Leonard. Word had spread. The influential Leonard Pierce was in attendance, uninvited. In the corner, Lucia Farnsworth sipped champagne with a sly smile, leaning close to a wide-eyed older woman who clutched her pearls in scandalized fascination. Lucia's gaze flicked to Leonard, and she lifted her glass in a mocking salute. Drawing on years of corporate poise, Leonard walked over to the open bar, requesting a sparkling water. He took a measured breath, ignoring the swirl of gossip. He was about to slip out quietly when a voice called his name over the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," the groom, Michael Freed, announced, "I just noticed a very special guest. Leonard Pierce, CEO of Pierce Industries. I never expected you here, sir, but you're welcome. Perhaps you'd like to say a few words?" The entire room pivoted in Leonard's direction. A hush fell. Heart hammering, Leonard realized he had no choice but to address the crowd. Stepping forward, he vowed to keep it short and diplomatic. Taking the microphone from Michael's extended hand, Leonard forced a confident smile. He cleared his throat. "Good evening, everyone. I apologize for not having been on the official guest list. Michael Freed is a former associate of Pierce Industries, and hearing about his celebration, I decided to drop in and extend my personal congratulations. Michael, Anna, my best wishes for a prosperous and loving future." Polite applause followed, though some guests remained uncertain, possibly expecting more. Lucia Farnsworth, near the side, watched intently, ready to pounce on any scandalous slip. Leonard handed the microphone back, leaning in to murmur so only Michael could hear. "Forgive me for the intrusion. I won't stay long." Michael nodded, slightly puzzled. "Thanks for coming, Mr. Pierce. It's an honor. Unexpected, but an honor." Then he turned to the crowd with a grin. "And now let's welcome the bride for a toast." Seizing the distraction, Leonard stepped away, weaving through the tables to exit. As he passed Lucia Farnsworth, she caught his elbow. "Quite the speech. Any comment on your private conference with Camilla in the lounge? Something more interesting than a simple wedding crash?" Leonard's jaw clenched. "No comment," he hissed, gently prying free of her grip. He strode out, determined to avoid any further confrontation. Outside, the cool night air hit Leonard like a tonic. He loosened his tie, heart still hammering from the swirl of emotions inside. The events of the evening had shredded the facade he'd built around himself for years. He was a father, twice over, and he had missed out on so much. Benito, his driver, rushed forward, concern etched on his face. "Mr. Pierce, is everything all right? You're leaving so soon?" Leonard offered a tight nod. "I'm fine, Benito. Take me home." Sliding into the back seat of the limousine, Leonard shut his eyes. For once, the hush of the ride offered no solace. His mind churned with thoughts of Elias and Marisol, the look in their eyes when they found out who he was, and Camilla, the guilt that haunted her eyes, the fear that overshadowed everything she said. That same question repeated in his mind. How would he make this right? The car wound through the quiet streets, each passing streetlight illuminating a fresh wave of doubt. By the time they reached Leonard's penthouse, he felt drained. Sleep would bring no comfort tonight, but he needed rest. Tomorrow a new chapter would begin, one that might tear apart every illusion of control he'd carefully cultivated. Leonard's penthouse was a sprawling testament to his success. Floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic city skyline, modern art adorning sleek walls, and a hush so profound it felt oppressive. Dropping his jacket on a leather couch, he went straight to the bar. Pouring a single shot of whiskey, he downed it quickly, the burn in his throat a meager distraction from the turmoil in his chest. Casting his phone on the coffee table, Leonard slumped into a chair. He remembered the times he dreamed of having a family, before ambition consumed him. He had pictured teaching a son to throw a baseball or reading bedtime stories to a daughter. Now he realized those dreams were never truly gone. They had just been buried under the weight of his empire. Flicking through his phone, he found an email from a prospective partner in Singapore, then one from the CFO about next quarter's earnings. He usually thrived on these urgent matters, but tonight they felt trivial. He typed a one-line response. "I will review tomorrow. L. Pierce." After tossing the phone aside, Leonard sat in silence, the city lights twinkling below. Tomorrow, he vowed, he would find a way to meet Camilla and begin the process of claiming the life he never knew he had. Morning arrived too soon, heralded by the glow of dawn peeking through the skyscraper windows. Leonard barely slept, his mind replaying every word and gesture from the night before. By 8, he was dressed and pacing near the kitchen island, phone in hand, debating whether to message Camilla or wait for her to initiate contact. Finally, he typed, "Good morning. It's Leonard. I'd like to see you and the kids today if possible. Let me know a safe, quiet place we can meet." After pressing send, he inhaled deeply. Every second felt excruciating. Minutes later, his phone buzzed. Camilla's reply, "There's a small park near the Redwood Library on Pine Avenue. 2 p.m. We'll find a secluded bench. Let's keep it discreet. The kids want to see you." Relief and anxiety warred within him. He texted back, "I'll be there." The hours crawled by as Leonard tried to distract himself with briefings, signing documents, and a quick meeting with a marketing executive. By 1:30 p.m., he was in the backseat of his limousine again, instructing Benito to head to Redwood Library. He couldn't remember the last time he felt this mix of anticipation and dread. The park behind Redwood Library was a peaceful slice of greenery amidst the urban sprawl. Towering oak trees cast dappled shadows over the neatly trimmed grass. Families strolled along winding paths, some feeding ducks at a small pond. Leonard slipped on sunglasses and a baseball cap, not wanting to draw attention. Near a flower bed, he spotted Camilla with Elias and Marisol, each holding an ice cream cone. Their presence lifted a weight off his chest, though it was quickly replaced by a fresh surge of nerves. He approached slowly, noticing Elias's subtle grin and Marisol's shy wave. Camilla offered a hesitant smile. "We found a quiet spot away from the main entrance." Leonard nodded, removing his cap to face the children more openly. "Hi, you two. Ice cream for lunch? That's pretty lucky." Elias's lips quirked into a half smile, eyes darting over Leonard. "Mom said we could have a special treat." Marisol whispered a soft hello, fiddling with the napkin around her cone. Leonard squatted to their level, something inside him warming at the simple joy of seeing them. Camilla gestured to a nearby bench shaded by a large oak tree. "Maybe we should sit. There's a lot we need to talk about." Settled on the bench, Leonard found himself flanked by Elias and Marisol, while Camilla perched at one end, watchful. He began by asking the children about their interests. Elias brightened as he described his love for puzzles and science experiments, while Marisol quietly mentioned her fondness for drawing and anything involving fairies and princesses. Leonard listened avidly, mentally noting every detail. Favorite colors, best friends at school, what they wanted to be when they grew up. The realization that he had missed their births, first words, first steps gnawed at him, but he tried to stay focused on the present. "So what do you do?" Elias asked suddenly, looking up at Leonard with open curiosity. Camilla tensed, but Leonard remained composed. "I run a company called Pierce Industries. We make lots of things. Machines, software, even buildings. It keeps me busy, but I'm hoping to find more time for family now." He offered a tentative smile. Elias nodded thoughtfully, as though analyzing a new puzzle. Marisol, less guarded, nestled closer to Leonard's side. "Do you like your job?" she asked in a small voice. Leonard softened at her innocence. "Sometimes, but meeting you two is the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." The conversation drifted to simpler topics: favorite movies, weekend hobbies, the children's school routine. Camilla observed quietly, intervening only to clarify a detail or to remind them of polite manners. Before long, Elias, emboldened by Leonard's encouragement, asked about visiting Leonard's office. "I bet you have some cool gadgets." Leonard's heart soared. "We do. Maybe we can arrange a tour sometime soon, if your mom agrees." Camilla stiffened, but then managed a half smile. "We'll see. Let's not rush." Leonard recognized her caution. She was protecting them, and rightly so. "I understand," he said quietly, "but I'd like us to build a real relationship. I can't erase the past, but maybe we can shape a better future." Elias nodded, perhaps too young to fully grasp the meaning, but old enough to sense sincerity. Marisol clutched Leonard's hand with her tiny fingers, unconsciously forging a bond that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Just as the conversation found a sweet lull, Camilla's phone chimed. She glanced at the screen, her expression darkening. I need to take this. She stood and walked a few steps away, leaving Leonard and the children in a pocket of silence. From the tension in her shoulders, Leonard guessed it wasn't good news. After a brief, hushed exchange, Camilla returned, her face pale. That was Paul. Lucia Farnsworth is stirring up trouble, she said, keeping her voice low so the children wouldn't overhear. She's been dropping hints to tabloids that there's a secret reason you crashed the wedding. She's threatening to go public with rumors that you have a hidden family. Leonard felt a surge of anger. That woman is relentless. Has she approached you directly? Camilla shook her head, worry creasing her brow. Not yet, but it's only a matter of time. She's the kind of person who loves a scandal. If this goes public, the kids could be hounded by paparazzi. And your reputation? She trailed off, but Leonard understood. Investors and boards could react unpredictably to personal controversies. Marisol, sensing the shift in mood, tugged on Leonard's sleeve. Is something wrong? Leonard forced a gentle smile. Just some grown-up stuff, honey. It's okay. Elias gazed at them both with questioning eyes, but Leonard and Camilla exchanged an unspoken agreement. This wasn't the moment for more adult concerns. We should come up with a plan, Leonard said quietly, returning his attention to Camilla. I won't let Lucia or anyone else harm our children. We need to act before she breaks the story in her own twisted way. The immediate concern was how to handle Lucia Farnsworth's potential exposé. Leonard proposed bringing in his legal team to draft a cease and desist, threatening libel action if any unsubstantiated story went to press. Camilla, however, feared that might inflame Lucia further. We also have to consider the children, Camilla insisted. They go to a public school. It wouldn't be hard for paparazzi to track them down. Leonard's stomach churned. I can provide private security, at least until this blows over. I'll handle the bills and it'll keep them safe. Camilla's pride flared for a moment. She'd managed on her own all these years. But eventually she nodded. Their safety is my top priority. Still, it feels drastic. Elias and Marisol looked back and forth between them, not fully understanding, but sensing the urgency. Leonard tried to soothe them with a reassuring smile. We're just making sure no one bothers you. A quiet lull fell. Leonard realized how strange and overwhelming this must be for the children. Meeting a father they never knew, then overhearing talk of rumors and tabloids. He felt equal parts rage at Lucia and regret for not being there all these years to protect them. I'll contact my team right away, Leonard resolved. We can't let someone else control our narrative. After arranging a follow-up plan, they walked the children to the nearby pond to feed ducks. While the kids laughed, tossing bits of bread to the squabbling waterfowl, Camilla pulled Leonard aside. There's more you should know, she said softly, guilt shadowing her face. It's about why I left. Leonard's throat tightened. We can talk about it whenever you're ready. Camilla inhaled shakily, glancing at the children to ensure they were distracted. I didn't just leave because of the scandal and the stress. I'd heard rumors that your own board was pushing you out. I thought if you lost everything, you'd blame the baby and me for distracting you. It sounds irrational now, but I was terrified. My father always told me men can't handle too many burdens. I panicked. Leonard stiffened. He recalled the hostility from some board members in the early days. They doubted his leadership because he was young and brash, but he never would have blamed Camilla for that. You should have trusted me, or at least talked to me. Tears welled in her eyes. I know. I was wrong. I made a huge mistake. I've regretted it for years. Leonard's anger softened, replaced by a deep, raw ache. We can't change the past, but maybe we can work together to protect our future, ours and the kids. Just as they found a moment of emotional clarity, Camilla's phone rang again. This time she answered with a tremulous, "Hello?" Her tense expression revealed trouble before she uttered another word. Paul says Lucia posted something on social media, Camilla explained, voice trembling. Apparently she's teasing an explosive tell-all about you and an unnamed mother of two. She posted a photo of you leaving the wedding. Leonard's phone buzzed almost simultaneously, messages from colleagues, friends, even distant acquaintances. Everyone was asking about the mystery swirling online. The rumor mill was running at full steam. "We need to go somewhere private," Leonard said urgently. "This park is too exposed." Camilla nodded, calling for the kids. Elias and Marisol, sensing the adults' agitation, trotted back with worried faces. Leonard forced a reassuring smile, but inside he was seething. "Let's go," Camilla whispered, gently taking Marisol's hand. Leonard placed a comforting palm on Elias's shoulder, guiding them away from curious onlookers. Lucia's digital bomb was live, and the fallout threatened to unravel their fragile new bond. As they hurried to the car, Leonard realized with grim certainty their attempt at a discreet reunion had failed, and the real battle was only beginning. Leonard insisted they come to his penthouse, a place he could control, with security on standby. Initially hesitant, Camilla relented under the mounting risk that paparazzi would soon be tracking her apartment. During the drive, she coached the children to stay calm, explaining they were going to Mr. Pierce's home because it was safer for now. The moment they arrived, Leonard's private security detail, led by a composed guard named Daniel Reyes, assured them the premises were sealed. "We've got coverage on all entry points, sir. No unauthorized personnel can enter," Reyes said. Inside, the luxurious space felt surreal to the children, who gawked at the floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a sweeping cityscape. Even Camilla looked taken aback by the scale and grandeur: marble floors, modern art, and minimalist furniture that cost more than some houses. They settled in the living area. Leonard instructed the staff to bring snacks and drinks, then turned to Camilla. "We need to put out a statement. Something that addresses this rumor without throwing the kids into the spotlight. If we stay silent, the tabloids will spin their own narrative." Camilla agreed, albeit anxiously. "Yes, but how?" Leonard pulled out his phone, calling his chief public relations officer. "We release a carefully worded statement. No details about the children, but enough to quash speculation. We can't let Lucia Farnsworth destroy us." Within half an hour, Leonard was on a video call with his PR chief, Victoria Rowland. Camilla sat nearby, listening intently while the kids watched a cartoon on the other side of the room. "Mr. Pierce, we need to confirm the nature of your relationship with this woman, Camilla, and outline what is and isn't true," Victoria said, her tone firm yet empathetic. "We don't want to reveal everything," Leonard replied, "especially about the children. That's off limits. Just enough to stop speculation and discourage Lucia Farnsworth's rumor mill." Victoria nodded. "A strong but vague statement might work. Leonard Pierce and Camilla Barnes, your maiden name, correct, have reconnected after a private separation. Speculations regarding any wrongdoing or scandal are baseless. They request respect for their privacy during this personal matter." "Something along those lines." Camilla exchanged a glance with Leonard. "No mention of the children, right?" "No," Victoria agreed firmly. "Not unless you want them in the public eye. We can't hide the truth forever, but we can buy time until you decide how to proceed." Leonard exhaled. "Draft it. Send it to every major outlet. Also, my legal team should send a cease and desist to Lucia Farnsworth." Victoria promised to expedite everything. As the call ended, Camilla squeezed Leonard's hand, an unexpected gesture of solidarity. With the official statement in motion, Camilla gradually relaxed, though she still glanced anxiously at her phone. Meanwhile, Elias and Marisol seemed enthralled by the luxurious surroundings. They especially loved the view. Elias pressed his face against the glass, marveling at the bustling streets below, while Marisol twirled on the gleaming marble floor. Leonard found a quiet moment with Camilla in the corner of the room, near a modern sculpture. "I'm sorry everything got so crazy," he said gently. "This isn't how I wanted us to reconnect." She offered a sad smile. "You're handling it better than I expected. Part of me always remembered how good you were at crisis management." The sincerity in her eyes touched him. "I wish I'd had the chance to show you I could handle more than just corporate crises." She looked away, tears forming again. "We can't change that now. But seeing you with them—" She trailed off, voice trembling. "Thank you for not pushing them away." Leonard's chest tightened. "They're my kids, too. I only wish I had known sooner." For a moment they stood there, the old hurt and fresh hope dancing between them. It wasn't forgiveness, but it felt like a new beginning. Late that evening, the penthouse buzzed with activity. Victoria called back with updates. Major outlets had received the statement, and some posted it online already, framing it as a personal matter. Lucia Farnsworth's social media posts were overshadowed by official press confirmations. Still, tabloids speculated about the hidden details. Leonard arranged a private car to take Camilla and the children to a hotel he owned, offering maximum privacy and comfort for them. "I don't want you returning to your apartment until we're sure the paparazzi have moved on," he insisted. Camilla didn't protest. The children were exhausted after the day's upheaval, nodding off on the luxurious sofa. She lifted a drowsy Marisol into her arms. Leonard gently carried Elias, who sleepily clung to his shoulder. The sensation of his son's small, warm weight against his chest, something Leonard had never experienced, was indescribably poignant. "Let's go," he whispered, voice catching. Carefully, he followed Camilla to the elevator, the weight of fatherhood, heartbreak, and renewed purpose mingling in every step. With tomorrow looming, they had no idea what new challenges would arise. But for once, Leonard felt a sense of direction that transcended corporate success. Later that night, after Camilla and the kids were safely settled into a luxury suite, Leonard stood on the balcony outside her room, gazing at the city lights. He thought of the childlike trust in Marisol's eyes, the guarded intelligence in Elias's gaze. They deserved honesty, stability, and protection. He intended to provide all three. Camilla stepped onto the balcony, arms wrapped around herself against the cool breeze. "They're asleep," she said softly. "I can't believe today happened. It feels like a dream." Leonard glanced at her, noticing how the moonlight highlighted the worry in her eyes. "Or a nightmare," he half-joked. She exhaled a tired laugh. "Maybe both. I'm still sorry for everything, for running away when we might have worked things out. I was young, scared, and convinced you'd resent me." He slid his hands into his pockets, wrestling with his lingering anger. "I resented you for leaving, yes, but I never would have resented our children. In fact, I always thought about what it would be like to—" He stopped himself, the words too raw. Camilla touched his arm gently. "Leonard, I don't know what happens next, but maybe we can figure it out. Together. For them." He nodded, a bittersweet smile curving his lips. "Yes, together." Over the following days, Leonard and Camilla worked in tandem to keep their children's lives as normal as possible. Lawyers filed paperwork ensuring tabloid threats were minimized, while security kept a close watch on potential intruders. Paul, wanting the best for the kids, stepped aside gracefully, helping Camilla tie up loose ends at her old apartment. Elias and Marisol adjusted surprisingly fast, intrigued by Leonard's world, yet still longing for the simple familiarity of their old routines. Leonard carved out time each afternoon to see them, helping Elias with a school science project, watching Marisol sketch whimsical fairies. With each passing moment, he fell deeper into the role of father. Camilla began to trust him again, at least in short increments. They had yet to address the big question. Did they have a future together beyond co-parenting? One evening, as the children played hide-and-seek in the penthouse, Leonard and Camilla found themselves alone in the kitchen. He turned to her, heart pounding. "We've navigated the crisis, but what about us?" She hesitated. "I'm still figuring that out, but I know one thing. Our children deserve a chance to have both parents in their lives. Maybe we owe it to ourselves to try again. Not as the people we were, but as the people we've become." A fragile yet hopeful peace settled over their newfound family. Each day brought more laughter and fewer secrets as Leonard discovered joys he'd never imagined. Reading bedtime stories, cheering at Elias's Little League games, proudly framing Marisol's drawings. Meanwhile, Camilla began to let go of the fears that once drove her away. Together, they fought off scandal, refusing to let outside gossip dictate their fate. Through honesty, patience, and love, they found that the bonds broken by fear could be mended by courage. Their story was just beginning, filled with promises of redemption and the steady pulse of second chances. If this journey moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the hard-won hope, remember to hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a real-life drama, and subscribe for more captivating tales that explore the complexities of the human heart. Your support keeps these stories alive.